Let's talk about oil and gas keywords. In yesterday's video, I talked about how I was hijacking the keyword for digital oil field technology. And you might wonder why someone who does marketing would try to get to the top of the search results for digital oil field technology. Well, outside of the fact that it's a cherry keyword that people are searching in this industry, I can answer your question by asking you a question. When you need help with something, especially in a business sense, because this is all about business here on this podcast or show or whatever the heck we're calling this video series, when you need help, what do you typically do? Well, if you're like most people, you reach out to a colleague or family, friends, and ask for a recommendation. And when you ask for the recommendation, then really one of two things can happen. First of all, they come back and say, hey, I know this guy, he can solve your problem, he does exactly that, he's really great, we highly recommend him. Secondly, you can say, hey, I have a friend over here, she doesn't exactly do what you're looking for, but I think she can point you in the right direction. And if you fall in the first category, it's pretty obvious why you would want that introduction, because you can make a sale. And who doesn't like making sales? And if you fall into the second category, it might not be so obvious unless you know how networking works. Because if you can point someone in the right direction, that means they probably are looking for something that's related to what you do. They might not be looking for your products and services today, but they might need your products and services in the future. So if you can point them in the right direction and start to develop that relationship, then once they need what you have, they're much more likely to come back and buy from you. And you might be surprised to know that just the same way you can help people offline in that way, you can help them online in the same way. So if you go back to our second episode last week, which is oil field SEO, and I'm happy to say that we're already dominating and ranking at the top of that search. But if you look back, we looked at a handful of keywords, and my favorite one was offshore construction. We found that 110 people each month searched the exact phrase offshore construction in Google. Now, if you do offshore construction, again, it's probably pretty obvious why you would want to rank for the top of that phrase. But if you do offshore construction, what are some other things that the people who need your products and services could be searching for? And just like always, I have my whiteboard and I did some research. So this is a topic that we call tangential keywords, and all this stuff always sounds fancy, search engine optimization and everything, but it just means what we're already talking about. What do the people that need your products and service also search for that you can help them with? So here we go. Tangential oil and gas keywords. Offshore suppliers, 40 people each month. Offshore fabrication, 20 people each month. Offshore operations, 30 people, and then oil and gas construction. Now, oil and gas construction is more of a exact match or very similar to offshore construction. However, obviously, if someone's looking for offshore construction, they probably also need to find some offshore suppliers. They might need to find offshore fabrication. They might need to find some vendors that do these things, vendors that you know and that you can recommend. And so what you can do is you can go out there and create a piece of content or create multiple pieces of content that can help people in this regard. So, for instance, offshore suppliers, the top 5 offshore suppliers in the Gulf of Mexico, or offshore fabrication, how insert company earned our business and how they could help you as well. That second one is pretty brilliant because what's going to happen is that once you start talking about another company to your audience, then they're much more likely to promote your products and services to their audience, and there's that overlap, which becomes an upward spiral of helping each other scale each other's networks and start sending business back and forth. So once again, we see that the mentality that you have around growing your business offline exactly applies online, and the big difference once again is that instead of doing it one-to-one, You can do it 1 to a dozen or hundreds or even thousands once you build your audience. So I hope this was helpful. If you have any questions about anything that we talked about here in this video or past videos, or heck, things that we haven't even touched on yet, please leave your questions in the comments below. If you enjoyed this video, like it, share it, spread it around. Help us help more and more people, because the more people we help, the more our business is going to grow, and hopefully we can either be in that first category of solving a problem for you, or if you need something, we have a pretty big network, so reach out to us and hopefully we can point you in the right direction. And once again, if you are listening to this via podcast, then you can go to triberocket.com/OGM7 to see the transcript and all of the supporting links. Signing off for now, as always, no matter what you're doing out there in the oil field, I hope that you go out there and consistently apply the basic fundamentals.